Jen here, and welcome to week 6 of the Christmas card lift series that Daisy and I do. I can't believe it's week 6 already. That is going by way too quickly. I know we always say that, but I feel like, I don't know, the month of November just kind of disappeared on me. So week 6, and we have another guest joining us this week. We invited Mandy Schneider. All of her details will be down below. She is someone that I have loved for a very long time. I've been following her YouTube channel for a really long time, and some of her Facebook pages. She mostly does Project Life, which is always phenomenal. She does really, really beautiful Project Life layouts, but she's also a card maker, and she makes the most incredible cards and Traveler's Notebook layouts. She's definitely somebody that you guys have to check out. So go to all of her links down below so you can see how she did with the card this month. And check out her other stuff too, because she's just phenomenal and I love her to death. So you saw the card at the beginning of the video. We are scrap lifting Yoon Sun Her from Rejoicing Crafts again this year. We did a scrap lift of one of her cards last year, and she really does the most elegant and beautiful cards. I am in awe of how beautifully she puts together her cards. So go and check out her Instagram channel down below, and she's got links to YouTube and stuff like that too. Yeah, I think her cards are gorgeous, and I really loved this one. I think that it's really different because the stamping is actually on the word instead of the background, and so I thought that that was really kind of cool, really different. I love the white. I feel like that really nice, bright, clean white makes all of those Christmas colors just look so fun, and they pop so brightly. So I was really drawn to this card and couldn't wait to try it. So here is my take on it. You can see right now I have some 4x6 pieces of white cardstock, and all I'm doing is using my brush and kind of doing these very, very, very basic leaf shapes. In the background of Yoon Sun's card, you can see that there's a little bit of watercolor and kind of I think maybe trying to be like holly. So there's just these little touches of green and red, and I kind of like the softness of that watercolor in the background with the really bold, bright pops of red that are in the word joy. So that's what I'm doing first. I wanted everything to dry off, and you can see I'm just using my watercolors and kind of mixed up whatever green was already on my palette, and kind of added to it as I went. Very, very basic. The sort of, if you're not someone who's really comfortable with watercolors, the basic motion that you're going for is you touch the paper with your brush, and then you push a little bit as you kind of move the brush. You just push it a little bit to widen the bristles, and then as you get to the end of your leaf shape, you pull the brush up so the bristles aren't all spread out, and that kind of brings it to a bit of a point. But you saw me going in there and kind of fixing some of the shapes, and honestly most of this gets covered up. It's just that extra kind of fun detail that's in the background. So once all my green leaves were dry, I went back in with the red, and so you can see here I just did my little dots of red kind of scattered all over. But you know me, I needed to just take this one little step further, and so I'm splattering some red on there too. As much as I love all of that white space, it's something I struggle with. I was just using that cardstock to kind of sop up some of the red that I got on my mat. And so here I've got all 4 of them done. I was just brightening up some of that red. Each one is just a little bit different because, again, I'm only using what's in my palette. And I wasn't quite sure at this point if I was going to try to make 4 identical cards or if I was going to play around with the different elements and see what I could come up with. So I wasn't too concerned with the watercolors in the background. So for the first version of this card, I pulled out some pattern paper. I picked a piece of paper that has kind of a holly, leafy pattern to it, and all I'm doing is on the back I'm just very generally tracing these thickers that I have. I just wanted to kind of get a general idea for using their shape to trace out the word joy, because I feel like if I had done it myself it would have been super blocky and it just wouldn't have been quite as whimsical as I was hoping for. So I went ahead and kind of traced those out, and there now you can see the pattern. And then once I cut out that J, now I'm just kind of fixing my O a little bit and making them match a little bit better. And so this is what I'm going to do for the first card, is just cut out my own letters and put them over top of my watercolors. So there is my joy, and I tried to find a pattern that was white based and had a lot of white space in it, but then still had some nice bright pops of color, kind of like what is in the original card. So there are my letters, and then now I'm going to use some of this red, it's just from a 6x6 paper pad. I'm going to use this to create my little poinsettia shape. Again, doing the same thing I did in the last card, where I just kind of cut out that basic leaf shape and then I'll piece them all together. After kind of looking at what some poinsettia dies and stuff, kind of how they're set up, I realized that a lot of them leave a little space in between, so they have a bunch of leaves all kind of cut out together, and then there's just a little space in between them. So you saw that's sort of what I did there, just to mimic that. And then I'm going to use this green paper for my leaves, and so I'll put all of this down first. You'll have to excuse my lights. It is getting darker and darker as I'm working on this card. So we'll go ahead and put down a bunch of these. I'm using some of these glue dots to kind of bulk up some of the leaves and just pop them up a little bit more, just to kind of give a little bit of that dimension that you see from the layered flower that you would get if you were cutting this with a die, or even just using your silhouette or something like that. And I'll put a couple of these behind the leaves and just kind of give it a whole bunch of dimension. And I just kept adding leaves until I felt like it looked full enough and kind of looked like it was a poinsettia. Woo, sorry, my camera it doesn't like when the light shifts, so it often doesn't want to focus in that like weird kind of dawn and dusk time. Alright, so there you go. You can see all of those leaves all piled up together. And now before I put my letters down, I'm just going to outline them just so that they really kind of stand off from the background. It's very subtle, but when you're actually looking at this card in person, I love it. I think it turns out really nice. And it's definitely different, just the whole idea of kind of pattern on pattern on pattern. But I really like it. So I'll go ahead and just trace that out. I think I'm using a 0.02, so it's not a very thick black line. And I'm not making it too sketchy. I'm just kind of keeping it pretty simple. And that is the first card. I'll go ahead and stick those down. And that's it. So moving on to the second card, I decided I really like the poinsettia, so I'm going to keep that. Oh yes, I put a little gold enamel dot in the center of my poinsettia. Now you can see it's super dark, sorry. So I decided I really liked the poinsettia, and I wanted to use those white thickers that I had originally used to trace my word. So instead of stamping on them, because they are like a foam, and I didn't think that the stamping would turn out really nice and crisp, so I decided to stamp on the background instead. And so basically I just took the feel of the letters from the original card and brought it to the background. So now I'll go ahead and put those white thickers down. I absolutely love those. I love how big they are, and I wish I could find more. And then I'm going to make my cute little poinsettia again, just in exactly the same way. I cut out a bunch of the petals, and I'll cut out a bunch of leaves. I think I put 3 leaves on each of my cards, and those are my first 2 cards, and then I went to bed because it was too dark. So the next morning I decided I really wanted to try stamping. So here is how I'm doing that. I just freehand drew my word joy. I kind of measured it a little bit just to make sure I wasn't too wonky with my letters. And then I outlined them with a black Sharpie, and now I'm just going to stamp a bunch of my teeny tiniest little Christmas stamps that I have. They all come from a bunch of different stamp sets. There's Close to My Heart and Hero Arts and Stampin' Up! And I even use a Freckled Fawn stamp set. And I just kind of alternate between some black stamping and that red stamping and the green, and fill up my letters with as much little icons as I could. There's some little Christmas trees and a Christmas light. What else is in there? There's 3 little dots, kind of like the little holly berries. I'm going to fill in my little Christmas light bulbs with this gold. I just think that kind of added a really fun little contrasting color because it's almost like a yellow, but it's also kind of shimmery and sparkly, so I think it's really pretty. On the little Freckled Fawn stamp set here, I find the teeny tiniest little heart and star, so I go ahead and stamp those. And there's I think 2 different Christmas baubles. There's just a ton of stuff in there. So I stamped them all up. I love how this turned out. I think that this is my favorite. Definitely Yoon Sun had the right idea. This was such a fun process to do, and I really want to do this on a scrapbook page. That I'm hoping that is going to be coming up very soon. So because I made my word so big, I decided instead of doing a poinsettia on the side, I wanted something different. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of these gold glittery stars. And again, it just picks up on the gold that I used in the card already, and I think that turned out so pretty. So the last thing that I'm going to do, because you know me, I have to do 4 different cards. I really want to show you guys all of the different alternatives to make a card that you absolutely love, but use all of your own supplies to get it accomplished. So while I was going through my Christmas stash, I came upon these packages of chipboard, and I think they're probably from Dollarama. So they're not very expensive. They're the kind of thing that I bought a long time ago thinking, oh, I'm just going to beef up my stash with this, and they're cute, and I'm going to get them used up. And then you don't. They just sit there. So this one said joy, and I thought it was really cute and really whimsical, and so I pulled it out and I used it on the card, and that's it. All I did was extend the watercolors in the background because it was so big, so I just kind of took them almost all the way up to the top and bottom of the card, and then I stuck down that joy, and that finished off that card. So now my finishing touches are some sequins and some splatters of gold Heidi Swap Color Shine. And that's it. Those are my cards for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, you can leave them for me down below. And again, all of Mandy's info is down below, as well as Daisie's. So go and check her card for this week out as well. And until next time, happy scrapping. Bye.